all of you can think of someplace else you might rather be than in this circle. However lovely the cedars and the breeze might be, I certainly could think almost anywhere else would be better than a place where I'm forced to recall the loss of so many people that I care about and the ongoing risks to lives of loved ones that persists in our local community and around the world. I forgot my notes, so I'm winging it. I'm not promising to talk for 10 minutes, but if I go over time, somebody let me know. As Jerry Garcia used to sing on occasion, in this world of trouble, we need to love one another. And I probably have a somewhat biased opinion, but Jerry was one of the most brilliant creative minds of all time, and was a very widely loved individual. And he was also a drug user. And he also said, or I understand him to have said, I didn't hear him say, that no one has a good reason not to be happy. I don't know how old he was when he said that, but by the time he was in his mid-30s, he had painful leg ulcers from a diabetic condition and was addicted to heroin. And despite bouncing back from that addiction and hitting the pinnacle of his career in his late 40s, by the age of 53, Jerry was dead from, well, he was checked into rehab at the time, although it might have been the Big Macs that actually put him away. He was still struggling, and he was loved by millions of people. So, I didn't know Jerry personally, but I did have the privilege of attending 32 of his performances, and certainly miss him. And someone else who appreciated Jerry's music was someone who I did know personally, and the first person who I lost to a drug overdose that was a close friend of mine. This young man from the United States named Doug Hughes, and Doug's dad had been in the American Armed Forces, and I know Doug wanted his dad to love him, and his dad had a hard time showing that love, and in fact was physically abusive to Doug. So in spite of having moved to Canada, Doug joined the American Armed Forces himself and started the training, and broke both his ankles during the training, and at the age of 18 he passed away. At that time there was no fentanyl, it was just heroin, but we've been losing people to these overdoses at a just heartbreaking rate for far longer than fentanyl's been around, and it's just escalated so much since COVID and fentanyl came on the scene. So my partner and I, under various formulations, have spent the last nearly three decades trying to increase people's awareness and understanding of the normal human behavior that is drug use. And we call ourselves i2i Peer Support these days. And with a small grant, we have been attempting to gather people who are at risk of overdose together to feel and find support and understanding from and for each other. And I gotta say that the stigma that persists, especially in small rural communities like this one, makes it very difficult to get people to come out publicly. And I'm really impressed with this turnout. I am very impressed that so many of you have chosen to be here and show your connection and concern for this situation. Most of us in the current economy may have started choosing to forgo our favorite fancy Starbucks beverages, but I suspect that few of us know how we would act if we had to pay $100 to kick our caffeine withdrawal headache to the curb every morning. Drug use is normal. People use drugs, and pain is complicated. Doctors don't understand it very well, and for a long time the easiest thing to do for pain has been to prescribe opiate medication. And opiate medication can be very effective and safe as a pain treatment for many people, but there's also many people that have emotional and psychological wounds that are hidden and hard to explain or express. And I'm fortunately from a loving and supportive family, and I wouldn't be standing here breathing, talking to you today if that wasn't true. But that does not make life in this current world a walk in the park. It's still very difficult for many people to find the strength to get up in the morning and to find the motivation to look after themselves the way that we might hope that they would if we care about them. So I want to thank everyone once again for showing your caring and concern and being here today and listening to me and TJ and the musicians who have generously come to share their inspiration and support. And I will say one more thing. I came up with a personal definition of love as unrestricted, joyful awareness. And I think that the hardest part of that often is the joyful part. And being with someone who's in pain is difficult. And if we don't know that person, it's very easy to turn away, especially with all the distractions today. And I think all of us have something to feel pained about with the amount of damage our planet has suffered and the amount of violence that's going on in the world. And whether we know it or not, we are in the same boat. So I will leave it at that, and I appreciate your attention, and thank you very much for being here once again.